Yahaya Bello, the APC poster boy who has been under the EFCC net of corruption, was recently arrested by the EFCC. However, after his arrest, there were claims that the arrest was planned underground to save the image of the EFCC, because many were already calling the EFCC out, most especially the chairman of the EFCC. They were calling him a clown and a coward for ignoring the governor who stole billions of naira and going for minor Yahoo boys over 1 million, 2 million, 5 million naira purported, alleged fraud. They claim that it was because of this dent on the image of the EFCC that they now went back and make a plan to arraign Yahaya Bello, technically just to clear their names and restore their integrity.
The Economic and Financial Crimes Commission, EFCC, has said that the former Kogi State Governor Yahaya Bello has been detained by the commission. EFCC's head of media and publicity, Dele Oyewale, confirmed the arrest of former Governor Bello to journalists on Tuesday. He said that Bello was arrested by the commission's chief security officer. Bello had gone to the EFCC headquarters on Tuesday morning with his lawyers to answer to the allegations of the misappropriation of funds against him after months of shunning repeated invitations. He was subsequently detained. This development comes on the heels of the Supreme Court judgment, which dismissed the case about the constitutionality of the anti-graft agency by 16 states of the Federation. Joining us now as we review the latest development between the EFCC and former Governor Yahaya Bello is Kaka, public affairs analyst and an anti-corruption crusader. He'll be joined later by Abdulaziz Ahmed Tijani, a lawyer. Good morning, Kaka. Thank you very much for joining us on the morning show.
Good morning, Dr. Abati. Thank you for having me.
Good morning. Well, very quickly, what do you think of the latest development? This is not the first time that former Governor Yahaya Bello of Kogi State would go to the EFCC premises to say, well, here I am. I've been declared wanted. I submit myself. This time around, he did not go with the governor, Usman Ododo of Kogi State, because the excuse the other time was that he wanted to intimidate the EFCC. Now he went on his own. And now we're told that he has been detained or he has been arrested. What does it matter? The important thing, he has submitted himself for interrogation and to ask questions about accountability. How important do you think this development is after all the toing and froing, hide and seek over the matter?
Thank you very much, Dr. Abati, and thank you for having me again. You guys are the best team in the business, actually, and I watch you every morning almost. It is actually very, very important because this hide and seek shouldn't have even, happened in the first place. But obviously, this time around, he has run out of options, and the law is after him. And probably, the current governor, Ododo, also could not protect him any longer because the Supreme Court, as you said, has thrown out the case, which is even a shameful issue in the first place for 16 governors to go to court, to the Supreme Court, to, request whether the existence of ICPC and EFCC and others are even constitutionally backed is very, very shameful. That is the level that our politicians and elites have sunk into. They will go and misappropriate funds, and at the same time, they don't want any agency to ask them any questions. This is very sad indeed. So I'm really glad and happy that he has been arrested, detained at the FCC. Actually, he's supposed to be in court right now as we speak. And I hope the judge should not even give him bail because, his antecedents has shown that he can escape justice if given the opportunity.
All right, thank you very much, Mr. Kaka. But since you're an anti-corruption crusader, how would you rate or evaluate the EFCC's handling of this particular matter? In other cases, they would find a way to apprehend a wanted man. And it doesn't seem like former Governor Yahaya Bello has been in hiding as such. I mean, a number of people knew where his whereabouts was. At some point, he even came to the premises of the EFCC and they didn't arrest him. But now he's presented himself again and they've arrested him. Before we get into, his trial later on today, the handling of this case, this matter by EFCC, because in the past, they've talked about the process by which EFCC has handled cases of corruption like this has been responsible for maybe a rate of not very high success rate as a result of not doing their due diligence or doing their job properly. How would you rate or evaluate their intervention, handling of this case in particular so far?
Thank you for this question. Actually, this is the first time that this kind of drama took place when you're looking for an accused person, like a former governor. As you know, Mr. Okowa, the former governor of Delta State, was also detained. Former governor of, Taraba State, Darius, was also detained. And for others were detained at the FCC and cases were going on. None of them brought this kind of drama and confusion to the system. In this case, I actually commend the FCC for being professional in the sense that the first time that he came to the commission, do you know that he came with fully armed over 50 policemen and other security officers because the governor was there. So assuming that they are going to force themselves to arrest, there's going to be, some shootout. And some of the security officers may even lose their lives. So it was a professional calling that they decided to allow that not to happen. But now that he has run out of options because the Supreme Court, we thank the Supreme Court actually for saving, this case by throwing it out, because assuming this Supreme Court decided otherwise, we are going to go to anarchy. In the public opinion that these former governors and all these big shots in Nigeria being arrested, are guilty in the public court of opinion, of course. But in the court of public, in the court of law, obviously it's a different matter because you have to present your facts and all that. So the way it happened, only in Nigeria that this drama can take place. Why is Yahaya Bello's case different? The other former governors did not go through all this drama. They were detained, were charged to court, and, nothing happened. So I don't see why he should be, given a special treatment, because the former governor was being protected by the current governor, as we all saw unfolding.
I mean, why should even governors, after leaving office, if they're there to serve the people, be having to answer to the EFCC? We've had a case in this country where there are people like Shekarawu, people like Donald Duke, left office and they didn't need to go through all the rigmarole in this country of the EFCC. So, but let me ask, what about the role of the lawyers that are supposed, to protect a level of sanity, but because of briefs and their own personal interest, aided and abated this merry-go-round? What should be done to those lawyers?
Mr. Rufai, thank you very much for this question. Actually, if you ask me this question as you just did, personally speaking, most of these lawyers are perpetrating crime as well. They are aiding and abetting corruption cases, very, very unfortunate. The NJC needs to step in and do something and sanction these lawyers because their personal greed and interest overrides everything. Instead of them to advise their clients as to, hey, you have been accused, just like your former colleagues, submit yourself. Bello is not any better than anybody else. He's just another crook in the system. Submit yourself and let's go and answer in the courts. But they don't do that because they collect money a proceed of corruption as well. And then they misadvise their clients. So, the Chief Justice of Nigeria, from the pronouncements that she has been having in the past couple of weeks, needs to sanction some of these lawyers as well.
Okay, Mr. Kaka, I just need a clarification. And I refer you to your statement that the court should not even grant him bail. I'm quoting you directly. You say so. Well, that may be contemptuous because you are, prejudging what the court will decide. There are two levels of bail, however. There is administrative bail, there is court bail. Even EFCC is entitled to grant him, administrative bail if they so decide. And the court can grant him court bail. But are you saying that because of the drama, the hide and seek, the surrounding circumstances, have you concluded as an anti-corruption crusader that because of the resistance from former Governor Yahaya Bello's side is guilty as charged? Are you asking the EFCC to embark on a revenge mission? Is that what you are saying? If you may clarify yourself.
Dr. Abati, absolutely not. Actually, Nigeria is a country based on laws. We always expect the due process to take place. That is my personal opinion, that somebody who has been, do you know how much money was spent looking for him? Do you know how much money the Yahaya Bello is alleged to have stolen? 110 billion naira, 0.4, even on these new charges that he's facing under Justice Anene. So what I'm saying is, judges have the prerogative to give bails, of course, under the Constitution. But my personal opinion is that he's a high-risk individual from what has happened, from the drama. But of course, due process should take place. Just like the former governor of Delta, his passports were seized. The other governor's passports were seized. So I expect also his passports to be seized today in the court. And personally speaking, if I was the judge, I will exercise my prerogative not to give the bail because he's a high-risk individual that might escape. And the Kogi people will be left with a burden of 110 billion naira in just one case. Remember the case of the school children. The school was so, smart to have refunded the money already. The money he said he did not pay. If he did not pay those dollars, how can the school, where are they going to get the money to refund it? So there's a lot of, criminality, there's a lot of corruption, misappropriation of public funds, going on in this case and others. Well, so that was my personal opinion.
Well, except that every accused person is innocent until proven guilty.
Yes.
And I think that former Governor Yahaya Bello is entitled, whatever the circumstances, to fair hearing. And we are not in a position to dictate to the court or even to the EFCC how they do their work. Thank you. Absolutely.
Now, we've talked about, and you've mentioned, the role that the current governor of Kogi State has played in this whole drama. In some instances, we've seen where he shielded former Governor Yahaya Bello from the EFCC. How do we prevent things like this happening? I say this because he currently enjoys immunity, so there's almost nothing that can be done. But if governors can shield or protect men or women who are wanted by law agencies, then that's a big concern. What is the way forward? How can we prevent such a similar situation from happening in the future? Because there's nothing stopping Governor Dudo from stepping in again at different times during this investigation.
Absolutely. That's a very good question. Actually, you see, the issue of immunity in our Constitution should be revisited. Remember, during the former President Yar'Adua's period, that issue was, talked about a lot, that, immunity clauses should be expunged from the Constitution. That is one. Second, you expect that every governor at that level should be a responsible a governor. But obviously, from Ododo's case, it has shown the other way around. Third, that the statute of limitation does not run out. So Ododo has 4 years now. If they vote him again, he will have 8 years. At the end of his term, he should be charged for aiding and abetting, as well as obstruction of justice in this case. So you see, the issue is this. The corruption in the land is so mind-boggling, is so rampant, that we are actually drifting to anarchy, unless serious and honest and transparent steps are taken. I'm actually urging the president to send 2 bills to the National Assembly. The first bill should be death penalty bill to be signed by the National Assembly. Obviously, you will say that they may not do that because most of them are target of the bill, which I understand, but it's something that we need to push. Then second, all these anti-corruption agencies, the ICPC, the EFCC, the NFIU, the police, needs to be strengthened. You see, Nigeria right now, we don't even, look at the kind of borrowing we are having. Every month we are borrowing left, right, and center. But do you know what is happening? Let me tell you one case of a corruption-ridden agency in this country right now. The Nigeria Electricity Liability and Management Company, which is called NALCOM. In this, you have been, this is a power issue. The Power Ministry Agency. I'm calling on the Power Minister. This is an agency under his watch. If you see the kind of money being stolen, the last time they were supposed to, 41.5 billion naira went missing paying ground rents in states where states contributed the land for free as part of, their, concessioning of these items in the first place. And now, in the agency, a lot of corruption is going on because the former MD and the current MD are apparently being, being protected by those who are looting the place. This has to be, the Power Ministry and the Power Minister has to look into this. This is very shameful. We are wasting this kind of money and we are also borrowing at the same time. This Tinubu administration is going to be, the legacy of this administration is going to be based on the actual corruption cases they fight. So this is something that needs to be done. This agency is supposed to exist only for 5 years. They exist for 13 years already, and they are looking for regional offices. They are supposed to wind up in 5 years, 2017. But right now, Dr. Abati, as I'm talking to you, they are looking for regional offices to open. They're trying to buy the current office in Abuja for 1.6 billion naira, when the Power Minister is telling us there's no money in the system, and we are paying this NEPA bill from from Ban B to Ban A without your knowledge or consent. Nigerians are going through a hell.
Okay.
And this agency is just spending the money.
Okay. So let's come back.
That's just one example.
Okay. I mean, thank you for the example there. Let's come back to the Yahaya Bello debacle. Is it that the EFCC couldn't have picked him up all this while? Or probably they were part of this rigmarole at the game in the first place? Because I don't want to understand that a private citizen can just go like that, and the states couldn't bring him in to be able to have conversations about an ongoing corruption trial. Is it that the EFCC couldn't have picked him up? Because in the end, they didn't still pick him up. It was off Yahaya Bello's volition that he walked triumphantly into the EFCC and he tendered himself. So, is it that we are saying that some people can never be arrested by the EFCC, while the other minions in society can be arrested? Because that's the beginning of anarchy, an equitable society.
Absolutely. Exactly. Mr. Rufai, to answer your question, you see, this is a special and a different case. Somebody who happens to be a former governor and hiding under the current governor's lodge, where the current governor lives, either in Abuja or in Kogi, in Lokoja. So there is immunity that protects the current governor and all the other governors as well. So it's very difficult for any security officer. Obviously, you can arrest him if you force yourself, but then, you are going to lose some lives, absolutely. But this immunity is where the problem is. So he hides under the lodge of the current governor who enjoys immunity. So if you invade the government house, it's going to be a different issue. If you wait for him to come out, he doesn't come out. The last incident, remember, he was in his house. The current governor drove into that house and he took him out in his car and escaped. So you can't even stop a current governor because of immunity to check who is in his car.
So should we then remove
you understand?
Should we then remove the immunity? Because if we now know that governors will use the immunity to protect people under investigations, since we know they will use it for all sorts of unscrupulous activities, why are we giving immunity to this bunch of governors or these politicians? Is it not just time for us to remove immunity?
Absolutely. That's what I just called earlier. I said the National Assembly needs to expunge immunity from the Constitution so that any governor in this case, assuming the governor doesn't have immunity, the FCC would have stopped that car, opened it up, and arrested Yahaya Bello instantly. But they couldn't do that because of immunity. If you stop a current governor, you are breaking another law. So, this is something that needs to be looked at.
All right. Thank you very much. I'll look forward to the outcome of today's court appearance by Mr. Yahaya Bello. But thank you.
Upon arraignment in the court, Yahaya Bello have pleaded not guilty to the charges leveled against him. Since after Yahaya Bello's arrest, there have been controversies of opinion from diverse Nigerians, from diverse perspectives on this case. Many claim that this arrest was just a mere cosmetic arrest, that the way it ought to go was not how it is going anymore, which shows that the EFCC was just trying to see how they can amend and restore their integrity, which Nigerians have already been questioning for quite some time now.